It's the last boss here in Shaper. I'm gonna do Shaper, showcase the build, talk about the how to set it up, what stuff to use, stuff like that. So it's a bleed Gladiator, pure bleed. I don't use any impale, no crit. It's resolute technique. Okay, so here you see. So I'm not attacking now. So I don't know if you saw it, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about the playstyle and how the damage kind of works with this build, because it's not like front heavy heavy front damage, but you can see here if you look at the shaper health. So your initial damage is not very high, but as you start attacking 3 or 4 times, then the damage should start rapidly decreasing. It also depends if you proc the thing that I have on my axe, which I'm gonna show what it is. But it's essentially, if everything procs at the same time, it's just incredible amount of damage from bleed. Um, I'm also obviously running the the aura that you can see up there into the left corner. It's not very common to use for these type of builds or for melee builds, but it really helps with the damage. Here we can see it better. You can see I'm not attacking anymore. So as soon as you have like 3 or 4 hits in, not even that, sometimes 2 hits. I'm talking about late game bosses here. The trash mobs dies with 1 hit. Everything, no matter what mods you use. But end game bosses can take a little bit longer before it starts proccing. I have done Eber Elder, obviously, yeah, all the content. The only thing that's going to be a problem might be some delve stuff or something like that. It's not lab farmer. You can obviously do lab with it, but I'm not recommend doing it. I'm gonna go over why I chose Gladiator and why I'm doing Earthquake for the bleed. And yeah, just the reason I'm doing this is to show kind of the playstyle and how the damage is. Since Shaper is the easiest way to sort of showcasing damage from your build. Oh, there we go. And that bleed is actually really good now because of the new malvolence. I don't know how to say. But yeah, the damage is actually not bad anymore. And since there's so many ways to scale it now with some rare items and this stuff on the tree, there's also new gems that gives you more damage. Okay. Wow, that's 5 chaos orbs. That's nice. Okay, let's go over the stuff, how pricey it is, skill tree. I'm gonna go as fast as possible because I usually draw this out way too long. Okay, Gladiator bleed. The tooltip is 21k, and you would say, whoa, that's no damage. Well, Earthquake generally don't have much damage, but when it comes to bleed and Earthquake, because I used to play the double curse Cosprey curse layer back in the day. It also used you were double dipping with poison. This was pretty much DPS. You had I have 21k with if I changed the blood and sand. stance, but you do not need more damage. Tooltip doesn't mean anything because it's sort of like just to. Of course, the more tooltip you have, the more damage you might do in the early hits, but it's not why. It's not the reason we're doing damage. So the damage comes from the bleeding damage. So if so you see here, it does nothing. Like even if our tooltip goes up, this doesn't change. So the bleeding damage per second is 13,595 to 23,035 per second, and then we're boosting it with 60% chance for bleeding to with this weapon to deal 100% more damage. I don't know exactly how to calculate that. I just know that 100% more damage in PoE is fucking insane. So we're doing so much damage from bleed, and yeah, and that's all you have to know. So tooltip doesn't really mean anything. You can have 10k damage, and you will be fine. So what gear to use? Well, how do you scale it? Scaling bleed, even though there are some stuff on the tree that you use to scale it, there's really not that much in terms of if compared to vortex, for example, cold damage. So cold damage over time have a lot more scaling. There's more stuff to get. There's more rare items that you can get in craft. I think there's more fossil crafting. It's not really like that with bleed. There's really only one option when it comes to rare items, and that's this one that you craft with corroded. This is the Dream Axe. Then obviously there are mirror tier items on standard, but I mean that's just not in a realistic environment. This is the most realistic one. I have another one that's close to 600 PDPS, but I'm actually doing more damage with a 45 in. So getting to 45 with this is this is the endgame Dream Axe for this build, for this particular build when it comes to bleed. Okay, I'm gonna start picking up speed here. I'm dragging on. Okay, so why Gladiator? Why not Slayer? Slayer is completely fine. Slayer do a shit ton of damage. You are stun immune, so you don't have to use comms rules. You have to think about that. We're not doing Cyclone, and I'm gonna go over why I'm not doing Cyclone. But we're not doing Cyclones, we are not stun immune, and you kinda have to be stun immune when you're playing Earthquake, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're gonna be stunned to death a lot of times. At least when you're doing endgame and when you're doing really hard map mods and delving, you need to be stun immune. The cool thing with Gladiator compared to Slayer, so you get bleeding, chance to bleed. Now you only really need around 75 to 80% chance to bleed because we are playing with Impressions. I'm gonna go over that, but so we get what is it? I think it's 30%. No, okay, cursed enemies have 38% chance of bleeding, so I'm way above the cap. But the cool thing with Slayer is that you get maim for free, and you get blind. So blind, and you get bleed explosion, which is actually pretty nice. It's not, you know, a massive amount of extra clear speed, but it helps, and you also do 25% more damage with bleeding. So for me, there's really no choice. If you were playing hardcore, I would definitely recommend playing Slayer because Slayer is safer. If you're playing melee, there's always going to be stuff that's going to do a fucking shit ton of damage since we're so close to enemies. So unless you have like 9k life, there's stuff that just will pop you if you're playing on really hard map mods. And then in my opinion, Slayer's better because of the overleech. But we're playing softcore because fuck hardcore in this game. So another awesome thing with Gladiator is the Arena Challenger. I have an incredible amount of movement speed. Now, obviously, this is just in without Arena Challenger on, but with Arena Challenger on, I'm running really fast with comms routes. So we have really fast movement speed and attack speed. Um, it's just a pro tip. Anytime it says more, that is a lot in PoE. Increased is not that much, more is good. Okay, so the skill tree. Uh, I talked about it before, but we are using malevolence. Malevolence? I'm sorry, I'm butchering this, but this is something I've started to use because I realized, wait a minute, you and your nearby allies deal 19% more damage over time. So I'm gonna show you. Here you see the bleeding damage per seconds, right here. We remove this, skadoosh. So we lose almost half our bleeding damage when we remove this again, with this skill. It's actually how dirty how much damage this is. Another cool thing with, I'm not gonna say the name anymore, fuck that, is the watcher side. I paid like nothing for this. There are several watcher sides are pretty good. Getting a double watch, my dream is to have, because the double one is 21% or percent damage over time multiplier, and there is that one that deals damage faster. They are usually pretty expensive though, but just getting one mod with this skill gem costs you nothing, and it also boosts the damage. You see here, this boosts damage a lot too. So it's just a really cheap way to do a lot of damage. This is not necessary. Lethal Pride is just an extra buff. We get some melee damage, 45 melee. Don't have to get that. Kinda have to get reduced mana reserve. I already have Enlighten level 4. We'll be using 2 auras that takes 50%. So we sort of have to take this. This is also really good nodes because first it solves our intelligence problem, because we are picking some intelligence nodes up here. We're getting an extra life node, so we are 26%. This is actually pretty nice when you're doing some of the content that have chaos damage. But it's just some extra stuff. But I would highly recommend taking mana. If we're playing Cyclone, then obviously we kinda have to. We don't have to take this, because then you can have the rings that removes mana cost. Right. So Cyclone is the skill I played with before. So why are we playing Earthquake? You see, the thing with Earthquake is it's the only skill that's for melee, that makes you deal more damage. So you deal more damage with ailments. So even if our tooltip might be higher with Cyclone, we're dealing just more damage. That's the reason back in the day when I played the Curse Slayer double dipping build, was because of this, the more damage multiplier. So that's why we're playing Earthquake. We're trying to max out as much bleed damage as possible, so then Earthquake is better. And also the fact that they nerfed the AoE of Cyclone. Dirty Techniques, because that's 10% damage over time multiplier. Here we have 8%. Crimson Dance is a no-brainer. Red Storm, no-brainer. Cleaving, I mean, you can take something else if you want. You can take Slaughter, more attack speed. Bleeding inflicts 15% faster, is pretty good. Other than that, there's not much more bleed nodes. You just have to get mana leech. I hate the fact that they've done this to the tree, because before you could travel up here and get mana leech, I would really like to have this. If you can get a duel with a really good duel with mana leech on it, then you can actually save a lot of points here. Sadly, I don't have it at the moment, or a good one at least. That's the skill tree. Let's go over the gear, because I'm feeling this video is going to take way too long. So this is the endgame axe I talked about. This is the other axe that's Seared Disfavor that you can use to 100% to endgame. I don't think that this 6% chance doesn't show up in tooltip, but it is a big difference between these two weapons in terms of damage. But Seared Disfavor is 100% okay, and it's usually really expensive to craft these items. I got really lucky with this, but it's usually pretty expensive. So yeah, this is like 650 PDPS, and this is 520 or something like that. So a Seared Disfavor is always going to be good. The dream implicit for a Seared Disfavor, you know, besides fortify, is increased increased physical damage against bleeding enemies with increased chance of inflicting bleed, but they are usually pretty expensive. Gloves, spike gloves. So I mean, it's sort of a no-brainer. You want resist, life, strength. Same thing here. You want to get rings with some sort of intelligence. We need int for some of the skill games, but also, yeah, some of the skill games, some of the stuff that we're using here. Just big, juicy rings with as much life as possible. Strength is really nice. This is a legacy ring, so you can't really craft this anymore. Craft the the mana cost of skill, but yeah, if you have enough resist and it's not a problem for you, then I would recommend playing with Mark of the Elder, with some sort of implicit if you have the money. This is kind of a no-brainer for me, because we want to use vulnerability. The reason we want to use vulnerability is because cursed enemies take 30% increased. It's not more, but it's increased physical damage from increased physical damage from damage over time. So that sort of amplifies the bleeding damage. As I said before, if you don't have enough chance to inflict bleeding, sort of have to have it. It also scales the damage really nicely. This is like the top-notch implicit. Obviously, the other implicit would be like you can add another curse or attack speed or whatever. I didn't really know what to put on my belt, but this is a good belt. It's always a good belt. The Wretch has always been good. And Devotos gives out dexterity, attack speed, movement speed, and Chaos Rest. And in my opinion, this is the best enchant, because the other enchant you want to get is Earthquake, have reduced duration or some shit like that, 30% reduced duration. I personally feel like vulnerability is better in terms of damage, maybe not in tooltip, but in because this doesn't show up. The reduced Earthquake duration actually shows up, and you can sort of see the difference. But I kind of recommend this enchant. There's also a couple of other, Earthquake damage or whatever. There's a lot of them. Links are efficiency, because spell damage is obviously not that good for us, but we are getting a lot of. I'm just gonna do this thread here quickly. Sorry about this. I should have. let's continue. We what the fuck am I talking about? Okay, links. So efficiency gives us damage over time, quite a lot. Swift affliction gives us damage over time, quite a lot. Less duration is a must when you're playing Earthquake, unless you have the enchant. If you have the enchant, you can actually remove this. So it's up to you. Then you can play with damage on full life or whatever you have. Earthquake, obviously. Brutality. You do pure fist damage because bleeding is from fist, and then melee fist. Blood Rage, faster attacks, Loop Slam, and Ancestral Warchief. Pride, Blood and Sand, Enlighten, and I'm not gonna say the name anymore. Fuck this. Blood and Sand is a must. You have to have one sand skill. You just have to have it. The reason for this is that the arena challenger doesn't proc unless you have a sand skill. Belly of the Beast, you can use an Astral Plate. Doesn't matter. But I would sort of recommend, like, if you're playing Slayer, you can use a pair of boots and then use Comms Hard, for instance. Yeah. But here we have vulnerability, enhance. You can use enhance level 4 for even more damage. Increased duration. I don't know why I'm having this. I think I actually gained some damage from increased duration. I can't remember. I'm not gonna look over it now. But just wherever. Empower, and then Blasphemy. And then we have a portal, because I love portal. I hate running around with portal scrolls. That's the build. It's incredible amount of damage. It's super fun, and one of my favorite playstyles was the double curse slayer build. It's sort of back, not really, but it's really good, and I highly recommend the build. It's a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, just ask, and I might answer. Okay, thanks.